Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Hall. Reed should be here momentarily. I'm not really sure. He'll pop his head in at some point. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday evening. I know it's not the best and most disappointing Mondays of them all, but tomorrow is the 30-year anniversary of Mogadishu, a.k.a. Black Hawk Down, you guys know. So the title of this episode is called The Mogadishu Mile. That's what it seemed like in that fourth quarter there. So joining us from Pro Football Focus, our boy, Mr. Nick Akridge. Thank you for blessing us on this beautiful Monday, sir. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Always good to join you guys.
Yeah, Nick, and that being said, you being with Pro Football Focus, got to get your top 5 grades for offense and defense of the players yesterday.
Yeah, so offense starts off with Dyami Brown, 74.8. Limited snaps, 25 total, but still decent enough to kind of include him in the top 5 there. Next up, Sam Howells, 74.0. Terry McLaurin, 73.7. Charles Leno, 71.4, and then Curtis Samuel, 71.0. That's on offense. As for defense, led by Benjamin St-Juste, 86.1. It's probably one of the best grades I've seen him have in a long time. Next up is Kendall Fuller at 67. Casey Toohill, he only played 5 snaps, so that grade doesn't really do much for me.
Okay.
So I'll just go to Derek Forrest, 65.8. Cam Curl, 62.8. Chase Young, 61.1.
And Cam Curl's leading the team in tackles yesterday with 12, and also had a sack and tackle for loss. And then Dyami Brown, 2 receptions for 51 yards on 3 targets. Sorry, Hall.
No, out of those offensive players, you mentioned Sam Howell as the second highest graded player for the offense. And going into the game, obviously, me personally, I picked them to lose. I thought it would be a close game, which it was. Washington played them tough. But I was mainly just looking to see how the offense and how Sam Howell was going to bounce back after that horrible game against Buffalo. And to me, it seemed like from the first play of the game, drive number 1, till the last play, they were on the field in overtime. He was locked in, showed that he bounced back. What did you think of his performance yesterday, even though they came up short?
I thought it was so promising. To see what he did against Buffalo, have clearly the worst game of his career, and then bounce back to have, arguably one of the best games of his career is super, super impressive, especially against a defense like, Philly. It's not like he played the Bears and bounced back, which we'll get to that later. But, he had a really great game. It's the offense helped him. There was a lot more, easy throws, quick game concepts that he was hitting on, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. Offensive line was decent. There were still some times where he was a little slow to process through some things. There's one play in early in the second quarter. It was like a deep pitch to Terry McLaurin. You could see him get from 1 to 2 to 3 all the way to the backside concept. It's a little slower than I would like, but I'm just being nitpicky at that point. I was pretty happy with how he played. There was not much more you could really ask of him. Other than maybe just a couple inaccurate throws.
Yeah, seriously. The kid, 29 of 41 for 290 yards, 1 touchdown, had a quarterback rating of a 98. But the 2 stats that really jumps out to me, Nick, is the third down percentage in red zone. They were 4 for 5 in the red zone and 8 of 17 on third downs. Sam Howell on 3rd and 4th down in that fourth quarter was John Wick, dude. That was absolutely incredible. But now that branches into my question, Nick, how do we take this game? With 2 seconds left, they get that tying score to go into overtime, and then they lose with the field goal in overtime. But how do we take this game? Because you feel happy that they were battling back against good competition, but at the same breath, they let an opportunity slip through their fingers.
Yeah. It's tough. No one really likes to do moral victories and all that sort of stuff, but it was a great bounce back compared to whatever they put out last Sunday against the Bills. It was really nice to see. I think they had a chance to win it there. I don't know if we want to talk about the 2-point conversion opportunity, but
I was going to ask you about that.
I'm always go for it. Always go for it. We can get into the numbers and probabilities and all that sort of stuff, but basically it boils down to you have 2 yards to win the game. I get if you don't get it, you'll lose. You either have 2 yards to win or you got to win a 50-50 coin toss, drive 70 plus yards down the field to score a touchdown, or lose the coin toss, stop them, and then go drive down and get a field goal. 2 yards is a lot easier than any of those options. That's kind of boiling it down to the simplest of terms. There's other options and other, scenarios that come into play, but I'm always a fan of going for it. You had the chance right there, 2 yards. You just march right down the field, just finish it right there and win the game.
Yeah, because when that drive started, Nick, I even thought to myself, if they were able to get a touchdown here, like you would have to go for two, right? But I also understood Coach Rivera's mindset because it's almost confidence in the offense and the defense heading into overtime in that breath to say, I know we could score points and I trust my defense to be able to get us off the field, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, you could flip it. You could flip it either way, like saying, hey, I trust my offense to go down and drive again, or I trust my defense, like you said. Or you can flip it like, hey, you didn't trust your offense to get 2 yards here. But,
It's fair.
I mean, we've seen him go for it in the past to win the game, and it's backfired on him. And a lot of fans like to, judge it based on a results thing. But I would have been happy regardless of the outcome of the 2-point conversion. I think you go for it. I think you end the game right there. I mean, the second half was really rough for the defense. And I think – looking at how they played in the second half, trying to think that you can kind of stop them in overtime is a tough ask. So, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was probably one of thousands of people yelling at the screen, go for two, go for two. But like you said, I can see both sides of it. Like you said, but me personally, you're at a division opponent up in Philly, an away game. You've kind of taking the breath out the stadium by going down and scoring. Me personally, I would have just tried to go for the throw, go for the kill there. But, you got the ball back after the coin toss, so it definitely had an opportunity anyway. But flipping to the other side of the ball, a guy that's kind of stood out here and there throughout that game for the linebacker position from a good thing, not Cody Barton from the bad side, is Jamin Davis. You kind of saw him just flash off the screen. A couple of plays looked like he was shot out of a cannon, attacking the run gaps and chasing Jalen Hurts down and whatnot.
He had a great
What
game.
have you seen from him throughout the season? And do you think that he's going to keep growing into a legit linebacker for this team, or do you think that he'll be one of those kind of just middle tier linebackers?
I think right now where he is kind of in that middle tier. I think this is clearly the best start he's had to any season.
Yeah.
I know it's only his third season. He's made a lot of really good plays, especially in the run game. There are still a lot of questions in coverage. It's not great at times. I mean, I literally tweeted, I said, Jamin Davis is quietly having a great season. And then he got burned for like a 30-yard game.
So, usually how it goes.
Oh, is that the penalty? Yeah.
Yeah, it's up and down with him in coverage, but they're using him as a pass rusher a little bit. I'd like to see it a little bit more because he's pretty damn good at it.
They used him as that extra fifth blitzer on time.
Yeah.
So that's been effective.
Mm-hmm. It's just the run defense is great. It's night and day from where he was as a rookie. I mean, it's pretty impressive the switch he's been able to make. He's just playing freer. He's just kind of trusting his eyes more, and it's really good to see. I think they finally have something there. It's taken a while, but I think he's already kind of in that middle tier where he's a pretty average to above average linebacker, and you're just kind of hoping he can continue with that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But we got to talk about Emmanuel Forbes. Obviously, he's very frustrated on the sideline. He's going against very good competition, A.J. Brown. And if I could speak to Emmanuel Forbes, I would tell him, being that thorn in the backside for A.J. Brown is a good thing. You want that guy pissed off, but at the same breath, he really did a really good job against Emmanuel Forbes. Talk about his game. What kind of went wrong? Are these kind of fixable issues?
It's tough. I mean, it's a very, very tough start for his season. He had a good showing against Arizona in the first game, but everything after that, it's been pretty rough. They are asking a lot of him following A.J. Brown. They had him follow Stephon Diggs at times against Buffalo. And it's a tough ask. It's a tall ask for a rookie, for anyone, even more so for a rookie. My biggest concern right now is not only coverage, but it's also in the run game. He's really, really struggling in the run game to he's either not throwing his body in there or he's just kind of missing assignments. And it's tough to see right now. You'd like to see the run defense be there if the coverage isn't great. I don't want to keep really bagging on the guy, but it's tough right now. It's only 4 games into the season. It's only 4 games into his career. The biggest thing with him in college, and one thing that I was not so high on him about, is he bites a lot. on double moves, on anything, because he has that ball hawking mindset. So he will bite a lot. Sometimes it works out for him. And we saw yesterday the Eagles played that to their advantage, and it didn't turn out so well for him. But that's something that's got to get cleaned up. He needs to, just be a little more patient. I mean, I know it's tough to kind of reel that back in, and we'll see times where he bites and he's right and he jumps in and he's going to make a great play. But right now, teams are going to continue to attack him for that.
Yeah, and awareness, I would say, for Emmanuel Forbes of what he has to grow in. The Eagles, literally, A.J. Brown, every time he was on him, they ran the double move in that fourth quarter, and it wasn't only those handful of times they actually succeeded on it. So it was coming, man, but sorry, Hall.
No, I mean, there's like you said, that's one of those things. Even going back to the off season with just going against the ones in practice or the joint practice with Baltimore, a lot of the reports were like he's solid to good or good to great, but he can definitely get caught on those double moves. And Baltimore definitely hit him with a couple of those in the joint practices. But flipping ahead to this Thursday's game, short week, you got Justin Fields and the Bears coming into FedEx Field. Another slobber knocker of a match from last year, another barn burner. But how do you see this matchup going with Justin Fields? Looked like he was playing a lot freer, a lot less robotic, like he said, coming off this game against Denver. But you also got to look at like everyone puts up points and throws on Denver. So how do you see this defense kind of panning out against Justin Fields, who, if you go back to last year, kind of did us dirty. It just couldn't capitalize in the end zone at the end of the game.
Yeah, no, I was about to say everyone kind of looks great against Denver's D right now. It's kind of a mess for them. It's kind of a no-win scenario if you're Washington. I mean, if you win this game, it's like, all right, sweet, you should have won this game. It's the Bears. They haven't won in almost a full calendar year, I think. And then if you lose, it's, oh shit, we got a huge problem here. So again, it's kind of a no-win scenario, but you want them to just go out there and operate. Sometimes you got to win ugly. I mean, we won ugly last year when they had this Thursday night thing with the Bears. I don't know why they decided to run it back after what they saw last year, but
there was so much demand for it. That's why.
Yeah, seriously, it's kind of impressive that they just said screw it, let's just do it again. But yeah, no, I think they should dominate them. I think the defense should really feast, especially with Fields. He holds the ball very long, like Sam Howell. Defensive line should feast. There's no one really in that wide receiver crew outside of DJ Moore that really scares me too much. They just don't have a lot going for them, and that's easy to say about a team that's 0-4. But it should be a dominating win. But I can't remember the last time Washington's had an easy, dominant win. So you never know.
Yeah, and that being said, let's talk about some of the keys to the game. The Chicago offense, they're 8th in red zone percentage, getting a touchdown 62% of the time, and they're 13th in rushing yards, averaging just south of 120 rushing yards per game. That being said, Nick, what is the big key for Washington? What are the players? Is it limiting Khalil Herbert and Rashawn Johnson out of the backfield, or is it keying in on Cole Kmet and DJ Moore?
It's limiting Justin Fields. It's Fields' legs. That's the biggest key right now. If he's going to want to take off and run if things aren't open, and you have to keep contained on him because he's going to be the best athlete on the field. You have to keep contained on him. You have to key on him. I'm more scared of him than I am the running backs. That's the biggest key for me on defense is just keeping Justin Fields in the pocket, keeping him at bay, and don't let him break free because bad things happen when he's out in the open field.
Yeah, now to wrap this up, I only have a couple more questions for you, brother. But let's talk about this defense. What is your concern level with it? They've given up 30 points past 3 games. Look, you could talk about Denver, but that was a Hail Mary, okay? Like, that shouldn't have even been allowed, obviously. But the Commanders' defense right now is 29th in points per game, giving up 30 on average per game. What is your concern level with them?
I'm not too concerned right now because this is the Del Rio special. It's always the first 4 games where they struggle mightily. The defense struggles. It takes them time to kind of, get in the groove, trust each other. And that's kind of huge with the defense that they play is the members of the secondary have to really trust each other, communicate. We haven't seen that yet. It's usually something that takes, some time to kind of adjust to. And like I said, we've seen this year over year that, this defense takes a little bit of time. And it's tough when you play, Buffalo and Philly. But I'm not too concerned just yet. Now, if the Bears start shredding them on Thursday, then then I might be a little concerned.
I'm with you there. Now, to wrap this up, last question I have. Your score prediction for Thursday against Chicago and the MVP. Not for gambling purposes.
Let's go MVP Jahan Dotson. I think that
I
touchdown
like that
gets him
one a
going.
lot. I like that
I think
a lot.
that touchdown gets him going. I think MVP Jahan Dotson, and I'll be happy with 30-10. Like I'm looking for a dominant win. I'm tired of these nail biter wins, these comebacks against teams that you should be better than if you want to, really take yourself seriously and try to contend for the playoffs. These are the games you have to dominate. So let's go 30-10. I'm not really sure how you get to 30, but screw it. It just came up in my head. Let's go with that.
You're absolutely right. Well, Chicago's defense in points per game are 31st, giving up on average 34 points per game, Nick. So I think you're right on par with that. I can't thank you enough for joining us on this. It's a somber, disappointing Monday, but it's also exciting because we got a game in 2 days. That being said, I can't thank you enough, Nick. If you'd like to plug your social media handle, just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet and would like to.
Yeah, it's just at PFF_ Nick, AKRIDGE. That's just the only place that I posted. Sorry, I guess it's X now or whatever. But yeah, I can't really post any more film breakdowns, but I will be, tweeting a lot of stats and giving my 2 cents on a lot of other things. So come yell at me, especially when the grades come out.
Yeah, I absolutely love to see your reaction to people yelling at you for PFF, all of PFF's mistakes. I love that one dude commented on you, was like, how could you do this? How could you even say that? And you're like, dude, I don't grade Washington players.
Yeah, some guy thought that Charles Leno pays me on the side, and that's why he has good grades with us. And I was like, no, that would be awesome.
I was gonna say that'd be a nice side gig, but
that doesn't happen at all.
No,
but it was a great conspiracy theory.
Pal.
Yeah, great conspiracy theory you had going on.
All right, Nick. Have a great week, brother. Enjoy the game on Thursday.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
It's good to talk to you again, brother. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Nick Akridge from Pro Football Focus. Please continue to harass him whenever PFF comes out with their ratings because he absolutely catches it.
He grades all the players. Just remember that. He grades them all.
It's insane. Well, he doesn't do the Commanders. So, like, what they do is, like, if you're a fan of the Commanders, you can't grade Commanders games.
Right.
So you actually grade somebody else, but they don't tell you who you're grading. They just give out the grade. So it's somebody else who does Washington's grade. So calm down, everybody. That being said, what a freaking game that was. Incredibly disappointing. Obviously, the game was right there in your hands. I wasn't going to – honestly, at the end of the game, the 2-point conversion thing wasn't even on my mind until I saw other people saying it. Like, I thought going into that last drive that without a doubt you would go for 2 there, but given the circumstances, once they didn't, it wasn't like I was like, oh, my goodness, how could you not do that? Like, I understood why they'd go into overtime, especially given the fact that we got the ball back, but, came up short.
Well, I think, again, I don't know what's happened, like, as far as Ron goes, and, like, maybe the media in Carolina just didn't really care about what he said to them. But, like, obviously this is a huge market as far as media goes, and they're going to take every single word that you say and make it into a soundbite and make it into a thing. And also, I feel like this is another one of those, did you really have to, just say that after the game type of things where it's like they asked him why he didn't go for 2, and honestly, I don't even think that was really what he thought, because if you heard him, he kind of stuttered and mumbled up. And I think he just thought of whatever came to his head and said, "Well, the guys are gassed." Which, even if they were gassed, why would you say that publicly, type of thing?
I understand what you're saying, because I kind of looked at it as the guys were probably really excited, and if they had to be getting a delay of game kind of thing, that was going to put it back because they didn't have a timeout. They didn't have that ability. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I thought maybe that had something to do with it, taking them out of it. Maybe the guys were it was too unorganized because everyone was like, holy crap, we caught a touchdown there. But I will say, dude, the awareness of Sam Howell on that third down, on the third downs and fourth downs in the fourth quarter, honestly, go back and watch his third and fourth downs. He is magical. The way he uses his legs, spinning out of tackles, being able to prolong the play. I mean, he was really on it in that fourth quarter. And I love to see it because we talked about it last week. That cannot be its consistent basis last week against the Bills. And look, I loved what I saw. But like we've said, this is one on, one off. And we cannot have a one off on Thursday. This is how you show consistency. I know it's a short week. I know you got banged up, dude, but it's ready to go. That being said, Hall, let's give out our game beers and gassers. It's going to be kind of hard, but they lost 34-31. Honestly, they should have won that football game. In my personal opinion, I thought they were the better team yesterday. Big plays were a big thorn in their backside. A lot of credit to A.J. Brown. But who's getting your game beers and gassers, dude? You want to do game beers first?
Yeah, I'm gonna do game beers first. I will go with a guy that I was really high on. I was psyched whenever we signed him here in free agency a couple years ago. He took a bad rap his first year. Again, kind of due to the whole Rivera kind of just not being straight up with the media thing and just kind of just leading them on thing. But he stepped up for the past 2 years. And my guy Curtis Samuel yesterday, 7 catches, 100 or 7 catches for 51 yards. He had the touchdown on the genius play by Eric Bieniemy at the goal line early in the first quarter, first touchdown of the game. And yeah, he's just a guy that has consistently, going back to even last year, has been super clutch on third down. He's been super clutch in the third and short situations. And a lot of people were asking about where he was at in the preseason. Well, he's arrived and he's been doing his thing for the first couple games of the season. I think going into this game, he was like one of the next gen stats was he led the league in separation per catch as far as like the amount of separation he creates on his routes whenever he gets a target and gets a catch. So yeah, I'm happy with Curtis Samuel. Definitely gets a game beer, and we're gonna need some more Curtis Samuel come Thursday.
Without a doubt, Terry McLaurin is getting a game beer from me. I know he probably won't even accept it because they lost the game. But 8 receptions, 86 yards, 1 touchdown on 10 targets. He was the highest targeted receiver yesterday. Given the fact of everything that happened in that game, the impossible catches that he came down with, that one that he caught at the sideline, he first catches it with one hand and then brings over the other one. Then the fumble recovery and the touchdown, the awareness of that. I mean, incredible to see where Terry McLaurin, he just continues to show up. And that's our guy. Jahan, I want to give a game beer to Jahan because he came back after that third down. I know he was beating himself up over it after the game. But look, man, nobody's perfect. These sort of things are going to happen to you. But that's why when Nick picked him to be the MVP on Thursday, I said, hell yeah, I'm right there with you. Because this is the sort of thing that you go back to work. Don't let it beat you up. The last thing you want to do is let it beat you up. And Jahan came back and he made it up to us with that catch. Because Sam threw that ball on a fastball. That was a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. And Jahan, you saw his hands go back. And you kind of see how sticky his hands are, which are beautiful. And now we are joined by our co-host, Mr. Michael Reed. Are you still on mute, sir? How are you doing?
Says his audio is still connected.
Oh, it does. It says he's muted right now. But that was a good one. So let's do gassers, bro.
Yeah, Gasser. I gotta go with Cody Barton. Honestly, like,
Always a white guy, man.
yeah, well, with the shoe fits. Nah, but I mean, look, coming into the season, I know there was like a lot of skepticism from some people because of what he did, his track record in Seattle, but obviously towards the end of the year, he kind of came on and was kind of that tackling machine that we needed at the linebacker spot. And then Drab from the Junkies, the producer, he's a Seahawks fan. He was like, his specialty is, yes, he makes a lot of tackles, but they're 5, 6, 7 yards down the field. And initially I was kind of just like, he's just hating because he likes to hate on Washington, like whatever. And then I've watched the first 4 games of the season, and I'm like, this is exactly what he was talking about. He makes a lot of tackles, but they're 5, 6, 7 yards down the field. So, look, I know people want to try to kill him for the fumble thing and why he didn't recover it. Say, he was just standing there watching the ball. The dude was going to celebrate because he made a stop on DeAndre Swift, and he didn't know the ball got punched out. Should his awareness be a little bit more? Yes, but at the same time, even if he was aware, he wasn't going to recover that because Jason Kelsey was literally already staring at the ball about to jump on it. But either way, he had a bad game. He definitely needs to step it up, and he makes me miss Cole Holcomb. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, don't say that. Well, speaking of this next, let's go to our fan questions with the Colonel. And the Colonel's question: on a scale of 1 to 10, Hall, what is your opinion that we have found our franchise quarterback for the next half decade at least?
Ooh, half decade. What was that? 5 years? I go into the season. You already know. I said it was going to take. Well, he's been played 4 games now. Going back to last year, I guess technically it'd be 5 games. He's played 5 games, started 5 games in the NFL. And I said I would take 4 to 5 games before I made my judgment. I'm still going to need a couple more games, only because it's been the roller coaster up and the down. But I will say I'm sliding. I was probably 50-50 to start it because I knew the potential that he had, and I liked him coming out of college. He was like one of my favorite quarterbacks in college that year. But I will say I love that he's had some ups and downs, but when he had a really, really down game, like I said, my biggest thing going into that game was if they weren't going to win the game, I wanted to see at least Sam Howell bounce back and put together a game that
Did he
you
do
were
it?
not the reason why they lost the game type of thing. Where like as a Buffalo, he was the legitly mainly the main culprit in why they lost that game. And I can honestly say that yesterday he was probably the reason why they should have won that game. And so that's what you're looking for when you talk about a franchise quarterback. Can he be the guy? It's just the mindset to just wipe the last game clean, wipe the last play clean, come out and just make a dominant throw, make dominant plays to put your team in position to win the game. So love what I seen from Sam yesterday. And honestly, just like coming off of a bad game, I want to see how he bounces back, how he responds to it. I want to see how he responds coming off of a good game against a good team, going against a bad team in Chicago that they should beat, they should dominate. I want to see Sam come out and play a dominant performance on offense.
The Chicago's a good team. They just lack confidence, in my personal opinion, in gelling. I don't think they're a bad team by any stretch. They are 0-4, but they still fight, man. They could have won that game against the Broncos, and they honestly should have. But that being said,
That's why they're a bad team, because bad teams find a way to lose.
on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 10 with Sam Howell. That comeback in the fourth quarter with a minute 36 left, I think it was, is absolutely amazing. And to see the way that this offense is orchestrating on third down in the red zone, I see what they see. I see what in Sam Howell. I just need the consistency, right, of all 17 games. The only reason I'm saying 10 is because I'm convinced of it. But the ownership with the change, we don't know how they're going to feel in week 11, week 12. That's why it's so important for Sam to continue building on these games, because it's not up to me. It's like I'm not the decision maker here. They are. I'm not sure what they really want to do and their true ambitions. For me personally, Sam Howell has shown the great quarterback play, and I'm willing to go with all of the bumps in the road, all the potholes. I don't care. I'm willing to go the mile with him. I just need him to be a little bit more consistent so it's ensured that he will be here for the long term, because I think the kid is talented, man. But that being said, the Colonel's next question, to your point earlier about Cody Barton and Cole Holcomb, the Colonel's question was, Hall, how smart was the swap of Cody Barton with Cole Holcomb? Holcomb is outperforming Barton to an embarrassing level. Why are we snake bitten at the linebacker position when two of our coaches are all pro former linebackers? And he says, caveat, and I don't want to hear about how the linebacker position is being de-emphasized like running back. Want some actual discussion, Hall?
Oh man, you took my main point. Now, I would say, well, you see Jamin Davis, like we talked about, he's developing, he's turning into an average to above average linebacker. Now he just has to keep kind of like what Sam Howell would you want to see. We got to keep seeing the consistency out of Jamin, especially a little bit better in the passing game because, I mean, honestly, coming into the draft, all the highlights were of him, especially in college, were of him versus Tennessee, jumping the passing lane, getting that pick six, and him making those athletic, freakish plays. But we haven't really seen that as far as like the passing game and coverage goes. We've seen him go sideline to sideline, chase down Russell Wilson. We've seen him shoot a gap and tackle DeAndre Swift behind the line of scrimmage, like reading the run game well. So as long as he gets a little bit more consistent and keeps putting it together and gets better in the passing game and coverage, then I'll say that we have one linebacker at least. Now, as far as Cody Barton goes, yes, he's not been good. And I will say, yes, Cole Holcomb has been better, but that's also, I give a little bit of that credence to Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're just all around. They're a great organization when it comes to defense and linebackers. And kind of like the whole, like we were talking about over the weekend with Christian Gonzalez and Emmanuel Forbes, like Bill Belichick's system and scheme benefits the cornerbacks because of the way they play defense and the pass rush they have in New England, and like I said, how he schemes it up. But it's kind of like that with
Kyle
Pittsburgh
Duggar
with
last night.
yeah, it's kind of like that with Pittsburgh and Cole Holcomb, where Tomlin and that defense, the way they scheme it up, the way the linebackers are, especially with that crazy defensive front with TJ Watt on the other side and Highsmith, it allows the linebackers to play free and make plays. But I will say, like I said before, watching Cody Barton play makes me miss Cole Holcomb. So you can take that as it is.
Only thing I'll say, Colonel, with an offense as atrocious as the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cole Holcomb has a lot more time on the field, a lot more plays to make, and a lot more ability and experience, I will say, in being able to do so. Look, Cole's a good linebacker. We told Steelers fans this offseason, look, you're getting a good linebacker. He's not going to blow your doors off by any stretch with any ridiculous acrobatic kind of athletic plays. With Cody's middle name or nickname for me is going to be one step short. He just seems to be one step behind in any sort of situation, and it's unfortunate because this defense has the ability to use the 5-man front with one linebacker and keeping Cam in that box, and they want to allow Cody Barton on that field, but at some point they are going to make some changes here. I'm not going to say Cody doesn't deserve to be on the field. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but both the linebackers at times seem to be off
You know
in the
what? You
situation.
know what, Barton? Well, first of all, it kind of like irks me and kind of not really infuriates, but like just irks me a little bit
That
because
he's
they
white.
asked. Nah, not just that.
I'm
No,
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
but it's because I think I forget who it was. Reporter it was asked Ron about like Cody Barton, blah blah blah, and they said he's still getting used to our scheme. He's used to a one gap scheme, where Del Rio runs a two gap scheme, and that just kind of like makes me like it just makes me like why are we still trying to fit players that are squares into a circle type of scheme? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do we constantly keep bringing in players like William Jackson III, Cody Barton, Josh Norman, going back to the old regime?
It's
Just,
an excuse, Hall.
I know. We just have a consistent theme over the years of, oh, we're gonna bring that guy in and we're gonna make him fit what we do, as opposed to like, hey, that guy fits what we do. Let's bring him in. So that kind of like irks me a little bit. But again, Cody Barton kind of reminds me right now what Jamin Davis looked like his rookie year. He's just not really reading things. He's a half a step behind or a whole step behind things, and he's not really sure of what he's seeing as far as like his reads and his progressions on like reading the tackle from what he's pulling or reading the linebacker or reading the running back in the run gap. But hopefully he gets better. But like you said, if he doesn't, then they got to start making some changes.
Yeah, I know some people brought up Jabril Cox and everything. I said, look, do you want to call Jabril Cox up just so he can get beat? You know, you just want to see Cox get beat up and down the field all day? Uh,
Look, a lot of people tried to say that, like, oh, he's fast, but my thing is that's what people were used to kill Cole Holcomb about. He was so fast that he would overrun and over pursuit the plays, and then so he would give a lot of cutbacks. And I feel like that's what Jabril Cox would probably do if he got into the game.
yeah, we'll see. Now, this next question from Tony Franchise on Twitter. Thank you, Tony. Question for the pod: is JDR's system holding the defense back from its full potential? With the corners playing so far off the receivers and not sending a lot of blitzes, it seems the defense could benefit from doing more of both. I said this in the spaces, and I think that it's very true. I said this earlier on this podcast that Jack Del Rio's defense is very cookie cutter. Everyone knows what they're expecting, so it's easy to come up with those kind of diagnosing offensive plays, be able to beat it. But the issue, the hard part against Jack Del Rio's offense is to consistently beat it once we get a good look at you. And you kind of see in later on in the second half of games, that's when the defense starts clicking, doing a lot better. Obviously, the first half they did pretty well. Third quarter's a little different, but the corners playing off is supposed to do what Emmanuel Forbes failed to do in being able to limit the big plays. That's why they play off. They say, look, we're going to give you those 5 to 6 yards, but you're not getting us over top. And obviously there's situations like on that in the overtime saying, well, why are they playing off? Blah, blah, blah. I get it. But in the same breath, you don't want to give up that touchdown because maybe that field goal is missed. And that's the kind of whole thought process behind it is I know people are questioning Jack, Tony. But the only thing I'll say is we do this every year with Jack Del Rio's system after week 4. Everyone's calling for him to be fired. They're all saying that everyone's trash on the defense. Take a deep breath. This is supposed to happen. This is normal. You know, it's just they have to do better, and they will. I have a lot of confidence in that defense, and honestly, in this team, that they're going to fix the issues that they need to. This isn't like Snyder where they can just sit back and chill because they know they got Snyder by the balls. They have to appease somebody very powerful here, and they're very interested in making that happen. So I have full confidence the defense is going to be able to do what they need to do against Chicago and be able to get out of there with a victory. Now, this next question, let's go to the Discord, or do you want to answer that one?
No, you're good. We can go to the next one.
All right, you're good. You're good. I know you want to talk about Jack Del Rio. The question from Orange Crush in the Discord hall. How did you feel about the D-line's performance yesterday?
Yeah, Chase was gonna get one of my game beers. He had 6 pressures. He had the sack. He was obviously he's always pretty stout in the run game. Um, there was a couple times where I think the defensive line they like sometimes they you saw that last year or not last year, but going back to 2021 with the defensive line where they kind of were like doing their own thing. They weren't rushing as like a unit. Ron Rivera talked about this a lot. And I think that at times they kind of revert back to they're not staying disciplined in their rush lanes and their gaps. And they're just not really rushing as a unit. They're all just trying to, like even Montez Sweat said that it's like a race to the quarterback. And I feel like at times they're trying to race to the quarterback and rush to the quarterback, but they're not playing discipline and staying in their rush lanes and, like I said, rushing as a unit. So can it be fixed? Yes. Yesterday, as far as the D line goes, I give them a C minus, C plus grade. Like they were average. They weren't bad, but they weren't like jumping off the page like, oh, you were the reason, you were dominant like you're supposed to be type of thing. I know Philly has a good offensive line, but if they're the defense everyone thinks they are, and we all think that they are and can be, you got to be able to win no matter who's in front of you. You got to beat your one-on-ones. You got to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. You got to be able to knock Jalen Hurts down a couple times, get a couple sacks, which they did. But I wanted to see a little bit more of it. So overall, I'll give them a C. Definitely not the performance that I thought they were going to put out, but also not such bad of a performance where I'm like, wait, kind of like versus the Bills where it was like, did y'all even touch Josh Allen? Like, did you get knocked down once? So, yeah, they were average yesterday. I give them a C.
I think that they deserve a B. I think they did a very good job of controlling up front. I know they did give up over 100 rushing yards, and I think the one Jalen Hurts botched quarterback contain on that blitz had a lot to do with it. James Williams had a clear rush at Justin Fields that couldn't get him down. Then Jamin Davis was coming across the middle and just misses, which is unfortunate because they had him there. The defense did okay, but that being said, those guys need to make more impact plays. I would like to see more batted balls, a tip ball here or there. But for the most part, you can't blame the defensive line because they did their job. Majority of the botched plays came in the secondary, and this is where it's kind of like Hall, you were talking about earlier about the pass rush. It's the chicken or the egg, right? Because if the pass rush is getting to Jalen Hurts, he doesn't feel comfortable in that cover 3 waiting for A.J. Brown to get over top of Emmanuel Forbes to feed it between Cam Curl and Emmanuel Forbes, right? But in the same breath, the defense doesn't want to lose their contain. They want to be able to rush those lanes, so it's kind of them having to fight themselves and saying, do I want to do a speed rush here or do the quarterback contain? And that kind of decision is probably the biggest issue at the moment with our defensive line and saying when do we do that speed rush or when not to. Like we saw that on the first touchdown run, Chase Young speeds rush, wide open hole there on the edge, and we know Chase Young's very good against the run, but he obviously thought it was going to be a pass, and that was different than what happened. And I'm not sure if that's what he's told on that run play, but maybe it'd be a stretch play. But
can we stop dropping Chase Young in the covers? Like
they did it to Montez Sweat too.
I know. This is the second week in a row I've seen that. We did it back-to-back plays against the Eagles yesterday. I'm like,
we get killed on those blitzes, dude, because we're sending obviously pressure, and it kills us.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know you want to send pressure and you want to get exotic with it and kind of like make them come from like where you don't see them coming from. But
that's what people have been asking for. They've been saying,
I know, but like
Jack Del Rio.
There's exotic, and then there's like there's exotic, and then there's like you're like in the Amazon exotic, like out and living in a hut somewhere, and that's what that was. It's like. I understand you want to do it once, but to do it back-to-back plays, have Chase Young drop into coverage, and then he's out there trying to cover Dallas Goedert on like a drag route or whoever that was running across the middle. I'm like, really? Like, what are we doing?
I understand. I get it. And I think the big issue with Jack Del Rio is that when he does call those blitzes, it's easy to predict. It's not like he's screwing with the formations, and it's hard to be able to diagnose who's coming and who's not. Typically, when we're sending a blitz, they know where it's coming, and they're hitting that outlet, right?
Like you said, it's like kind of like the vanilla kind of like cookie cutter scheme,
Yeah.
and where he's like, "Hey, I got these dogs up front. I'm going to try to win with just the 4 and drop 7, or I'm going to put Jamin up there and rush with 5 and drop 6." But at the same time, like I said, that's why I give him a C, because if you're going to have that scheme and go with that type of game plan, then the guys up front got to do their thing. They got to win their one-on-one matchups. So it goes, like you said, it goes both ways.
I agree with you. Now, this next question in the Discord from Yam Sensei. But in all seriousness, Hall, what needs to be done now to get the defense back the way it performed last season?
Um, yeah, the guys at Ref the District they broke it down to our 2020, 2021, and 2022, where the first, I think, 4 or 5 games of the season, they're giving up 25, 28, 30 plus points a game. And then from week 5 or 6 on to the end of the season, they cut it down by 6 points in 2020, by 5 points, I want to say, in 2021, and they cut it down by almost 7.5 to 7 points, something like that, in 2022. So basically, I guess they're just going to have to do what they've been doing for the past couple of years, which is look at the first 4 games of the season, figure out where they need to make the adjustments at, and get locked in and start getting after the quarterback a little bit more, start communicating more on the back end. So you're not giving up those deep plays and you're not giving up like busted coverage, like maybe like what happened yesterday with AJ Brown on one of those touchdowns. And yeah, so I think that well, Chicago again, like you said, is they're a scrappy team, but this should be one of those get right games where the defense has been kind of giving up some big plays here and there, a lot of stuff that they shouldn't be giving up. But this should be one of those get right games where the defense says, "Hey, we're going to take it upon ourselves to come out and dominate this game and show them that we're the defense that this is the defense we're supposed to be." These last couple of weeks is not indicative of what we are. So hopefully, come Thursday they do that. But like I said, I just think they all need to just tighten up and start communicating a little bit better on the back end.
Yeah, right now the Bears' offense is 22nd in the league in points per game. They're 13th in rushing yards, and they're 24th in passing yards. The kind of opposite of the Eagles. This is a good situation for Washington to be going into, but it's not to be taken lightly. How do they get the defense back to the way it performed? I think that 5-man front is going to be crucial and getting back to where they were before, where Jack Del Rio feels like he doesn't have to send that exotic pressure of sending a safety down and pulling Montez Sweat and Chase Young back. Having that 5-man front creates the pressure, gives you the comfortability against the run in case that does happen, but it also gives you the back end of not giving away too many guys and having to drop back Montez Sweat or Chase Young. That has a lot to go along with it, and I think experience as well. I think Derek Forrest is the guy I would have given my gasser to. I love Defoe. I think Defoe is a great safety. He's going to be a great safety in this league. He's had a bad stretch of a couple games. That one touchdown to A.J. Brown, Derek Forrest should have made the tackle on. Obviously, that shouldn't have even happened. Emmanuel Forbes shouldn't have allowed it, but the whole play was a bomb, and obviously Derek Forrest needs to do better in that breath. But I do expect them to limit the big plays. It's something that's hurt them early on in the season, but it's something they generally correct, and I trust that they will. This next question from Chris Comerton. A lot of people are being hard on Forbes after yesterday's game, and a lot are saying that they are being too hard on the rookie. How do you feel about a first-round pick 4 weeks into the season, Hall?
Yeah, this is my point today where people are so quick, because I could have swore week 1 people were like, he's him all throughout the all season. He's him against Baltimore in them joint practices. He's him. Then he has a couple bad stretches, a couple games where he's giving up some deep balls, some big plays. Guess what? AJ Brown does that to a lot of cornerbacks in this league. Now, look, I'm not gonna the Denzel Mims thing. That is what it is. But if you really like know about Denzel Mims, that's literally what he did in college. He was a deep ball guy, Oklahoma, 4.3 40 type of guy. Get behind the defense, big play waiting to happen. So, but at the end of the day, look, he's a rookie. He's 4 games into his career. He's gonna make mistakes. Show me one cornerback throughout this league that doesn't get burnt by a wide receiver, who doesn't give up catches to a wide receiver. It happens. So my whole point was people are willing to go ride the waves, the ups and downs with Sam Howell when he has a bad game. It's not, oh, Sam's trash. Cut him, get rid of him. Why'd we draft him? He's a bum. But then the next week he comes out against Denver, or the next week he comes out against Philadelphia, puts up 30 plus. Everyone said, oh, Sam, we found our guy. Who's to say that Emmanuel Forbes won't come out against the Bears, have a pick 6, have an interception or two, have a fumble recovery, have a big play? Are we going to jump back on the bandwagon again and say, he's him, he's that dude, blah, 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 blah. We drafted the right guy. So just like Aaron Rodgers said, RELAX, relax. We still got 13 games to go. Has he had a rough start to this season? Yes. Can he get better? Obviously, yes. Do I have faith that he'll get better? Obviously, yes. Does Emmanuel Forbes know and think that he'll get better? You saw how mad and pissed he was on the sideline after he gave it a touchdown? If he just went to the sideline and stood there and just put his head down or, sulked to himself, then I'd be like, I don't know. I'm not going to, judge him off that, but I like that he's pissed off. He's fired up. Why did I give that play up? Like, he feels like I just let my teammates down because I gave a big play that I knew I should have not been on the double move on. So I like where his head's at. I like where his mindset's at. And I hope that I think that he'll come out against Chicago and he'll have a big play, a big turnover, and people will just, oh, yeah, he's good again.
Look, man, they picked on the kid. And one of the best really got after him. He talked his talk. And look, man, I just need a little bit less Josh Norman, a little bit more Darrelle Revis in the sense of how you go about your work ethic. But I think awareness has a lot to do with it. I think a lot of it has to go into the run game. And he on film has shown the propensity not to be afraid of contact in the run game. So obviously there is a disconnect, and it's more so of just playing where his feet are. It seems like he is a step or two behind, and that is to be expected with rookie cornerback in this league, going against some of the best. I think it says a lot that this coaching staff trusted Emmanuel Forbes to go up against A.J. Brown as much as he did, and look, that is a growing tool for the future. Emmanuel E-Man should be upset. And I'm sure that he is. And I'm sure that he's looking to be able to get back to this so he could make a name for himself again. But that's why the football field is, I always say this, is a gigantic stage. And is an opportunity for you to showcase yourself. And yeah, you might have had one bad performance, but you're going to have multiple. And we're going to need you for those moments. And so you better learn where you're at and understand that every single play, you should be assuming that ball's coming to you. Because you should never, ever just think and fall asleep at the wheel like I have been seeing with Emmanuel Forbes for a little bit. Now,
we gave Sam Howell the grace of, he had a bad game. It's his fourth start as a NFL player. He'll have a bounce back week. So we should be able to give the same grace on Emmanuel Forbes. Like, it's his fourth start overall, third start overall, whatever it is. We should give him the grace period. Hey, he'll have a bounce back game. He'll be better. And that's just kind of what it is.
Yep, and he used his length, but at the same point, you got to use your mind to help you a little bit here, Emmanuel, but it is going to come with experience. This next question from Tim Towner in the Discord Hall. Name one positive aspect of this team that we seem to be building on that could develop into a strength by the end of the year.
3 out of the 4 games they've been down, and they've shown the ability to not get all frazzled and start pointing the fingers and just get down on themselves. They've rallied behind each other. They've stayed even-keeled, and they've been able to fight back. Now, you could say they should have never went down against Arizona, but it's the NFL. It's week 1, any given Sunday. The emotions are running high, especially in the first game of the season. You can say, hey, they got down early against Denver, and that's not really that good of a team. But, again, good teams find ways to win games. That's all, like
yeah, I agree with you there, Ed.
I told you before. Bad teams find ways to lose games. Good teams find ways to win games.
Yeah, and they definitely did put themselves in a position to win that game, but they just couldn't get it done. And it's just, I hope they continue to grow on it, man. Now, this question from Tim is a good one. What is one aspect that you can really build on? And I think it's the defensive line in the tackles for loss generated, the negative yards. It puts them in good positions, but they haven't been against Philly. As soon as they get within that 3 yards, they're doing the tush push, man. And so that it's so hard to be able to give up those small chunk plays to Philly because you know that that's what they're going to go with. And there's nothing they can do to stop it, even if they have a false start on it. They won't call the flag, and they'll just say, well, what about their nose tackle almost touching it? What are you supposed to do here? I mean, honestly, what are we doing here? One aspect is them getting the tackles for loss. It seems to be evident in every single game. They get these long down and distances, and that is something we're going to be able to hang our hat on later on in the year to fix the third down woes, in my personal opinion, Tim. Now, this next question from Tony Shivers to wrap up this episode as we highlight looking into Chicago. What are your thoughts on Tressway's performance? Normally one of our best players. I thought he gave the Eagles too many hidden yards, rough all game. Then we needed him the most. A dud punt and OT. Put the defense in difficult situations. Yes, Tress had a bad game. It's okay. It happens. It never happens typically. But just like with Sam Howell, it can't be a consistency. Maybe Tress just doesn't like Philadelphia. I completely understand it. I've been there. It's a very what's her face said it was a beautiful city. I was like, huh? What part have you been to?
She must be from Philly. Yeah, I mean, look,
Pam
like you
Oliver
said.
said that. That's
Man, no one listens to her.
she's nice.
I know, I'm just joking. Yeah, but like you said, Trustway, he's been the one consistency throughout this whole time that he's been a part of this team through 3 different name changes, through different jerseys, through different coaches, different owners, different GMs. Trustway has been the one consistency that's been here for a long time, the last couple of years. He's allowed to have one bad game. Now, granted, that came at like the worst spot and the worst time to have a bad game, but that's my guy. That's everyone's guy, and we're gonna give him the leeway and the grace of multiple years of high level punting consistency versus 2 bad punts in one game.
Yeah, and I will say this: Tressway has bailed out this defense, this team a lot in his
Mm-hmm.
professional career. I think it's okay that we bail him out for one of these games. You know what I
Just
mean?
like he was giving them a lot of like hidden yardage and
Right.
like that you were talking about, he's also given us a lot of hidden yardage as far as like flipping the field and field position and whatnot. So, like I said, 8.5, 9 years of like consistent, good to great punting versus 2 punts that he would definitely wish he'd probably have back. I'll take the 9 years, 8.5 years over that. It's all good.
Now, last question. Let's pregame for Chicago. This is from Tony Shivers. Assuming no other show before Thursday's game, you are correct. We're going to have our show on Friday. His question is, what do you see as the biggest keys for the game on defense versus Chicago?
Biggest keys on defense, I'm gonna say, is staying with your rush lanes as far as the defensive line goes. Stay in your rush lane. Stay with your gap integrity. Do not let Justin Fields do what he did last year against us, which is get outside the pocket, run around, break the pocket, just like step up in the pocket, run up the middle on us. And I would say that number 2 for the defense, I would say got to be able to be able to make sure tackles in the open field. Because again, if Justin Fields does get out the pocket, you're gonna have to be able to make an open field tackle against him. And they have some pretty good running backs as well that you're gonna have to be able to make open field tackles against. And number 3, I would say, got to get better with the communication on the back end, because the one thing that will kill us against Chicago, outside of Justin Fields breaking the pocket and making those plays outside the pocket or running around, is him running around, creating time, and then someone getting beat deep on the big plays. If we're gonna give up big plays against Chicago, it's gonna be a long game. So those are my 3 keys as far as like right now goes.
Yeah, I think you are right about that. The big plays have reared their ugly head again. I blame you for jinxing us with that 2 weeks ago. But my biggest keys is the red zone defense. They did a good job this week of forcing the Philadelphia for 1 for 2 in the red zone. They only had 2 red zone opportunities. That being said, the Chicago offense is 8th in red zone conversion percentage, and right now we are 6th on defense. Obviously, it's going to be a big point of emphasis, getting off the field on 3rd down, giving Sam Howell chances. That being said, the Chicago defense is 30th in the red zone on defense and 31st in points per game and 29th in passing yards. The key is going to have to be turnovers, is taking care of the football. Cannot make this harder on ourselves by giving the ball away to Chicago. It cannot be one of those types of games. You have to be able to take care of the football and put points on the board. Force Justin Fields to have to throw the football. Get up early. If you're able to get up early, that's put you in a very good position to be able to win this football game. That's when Justin tries to do a little bit more than he should. That possible fumble coming out of there, more sacks, escaping out of the pocket, doing everything he can to limit. And when he gets out of the pocket, to limit those runs from being 10 yards or less. You know what I'm saying? Bring that down without a doubt. Now let's do our predictions for the game on Thursday. Quick turnaround for this football team. Probably hard for them to go into overtime and then immediately go into a Thursday night game. So what are your predictions, score, and MVP?
Yeah, like you said, I think that overtime, going into overtime, because they were gassed and they couldn't go 2 more yards, but they could do an extra quarter of football. Is going to come back to, they're going to start off slow. I think it'll be like a them, like I said, trying to still recover from the extra couple minutes that they played against Philly. It was a physical game against Philly. So I think they start off slow. I think that, but eventually they course correct, they get right. I think the defense has a get right game as far as like points goes. They're not going to give up a lot of points. They might give up some yards, a big play or two here or there. But I think that overall they have a pretty dominant performance on Thursday. I think that they're going to be the reason, kind of like the whatever you want to call it, the reason that we come away with the W. So I'll say that 6 point spread. I'll say Washington. I think we scored 24. Denver, I keep saying Denver. Chicago scores. I'll go 24-13. Washington, and I'll say that I'll go 24-17. 24-17. Washington. I say the MVP. I agree with Nick. I think that touchdown against the Eagles gets Dotson going, and I think that this past yesterday was Terry's game for 10 targets, 8 catches, 80 plus yards. I think this week it's Terry's time to go off. I think he goes for 5 catches, over 50 yards and a score. My MVP is Jahan Dotson.
You had to steal Nick's thunder there. The score
This is my guy.
prediction for me, they are 30. The Chicago defense is 31st in points per game. I think we should easily be able to get over that 30 mark. So I'm going to put the mark at 33. So I'm going to say it's going to be 33 to maybe 13 or 16. I do think Chicago's going to try to get some points out of it, maybe off of a botched run play, something like that, not being able to tackle, something that we have seen come up a little bit here and there. But I think Washington, the expectation is this offense does score over 30 points. And the expectation for this defense at this point is that they should not allow them to score more than 20 points. Going off of the competition level that you have played the past 2 weeks, you should be going into this game playing like the better team. Just based on what has happened and who you've gone against the past 2 weeks, I don't want to see the regression of the former Washington teams that would play down to its competition. Come in with your hair on fire and really give it to them early and often, like Reed in high school, like his former friends used to. Make sure that they are having to fight and stay in that game, and you're cooking with gas at that point, and you're really happy about the conditions if you're able to do that. And I think Brian Robinson and this running game in that fourth quarter kind of showed what we are. And I think the balance of that is going to be evident in this game. So I think a heavy dose of Brian Robinson being able to run through tackles, the play action off of that to Logan Thomas, I think we'll be able to get 33 to 14 or 16. I think Washington wins. And the MVP of the game, none other than Sam Howell. I think it's easy peasy can do. You know what I mean? All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. Appreciate you guys for watching. If you made it this far, you are a champion. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the week. We'll see you again on Friday to kind of recap the Washington's win over the Chicago Bears. We'll see you guys. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. That's messed up. That's not okay. I'm not going to jinx it. Knock on wood. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hull.
And we'll see you guys on Thursday. Washington football. Woo!
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched the BurgundyZone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!